Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show. We are coming to you live right here from the CES and the show floor. And my next guest co-founded a company that he says has produced the smallest, strongest, and even safest, I think, and the fastest smart lock, right?
That's
so I
correct.
want to welcome Hans Overgaard. He's the co-founder and CSO of Danalock.
Correct.
So Hans, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Peggy.
So now you have to tell me, I know you were standing out there waiting to come on in, and I understand there is an amazing backstory to your company, and I always love backstories because I think they're really interesting when someone started a company, and there's an interesting reason why you started this company. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah, sure. You know, there's different reasons, as you say, to found a company. But for Henning and I, my father, who's the co-owner of the company, we were in the business of doing building automation in general. And at that time, it was in the early 2000s, and everything was all wired. And then at some point, I think around 08 or something like that, when we had the recession. And we saw that everything, with those wired solutions, it was kind of getting a hassle. So therefore, we began to build a wireless solution instead. And then fairly quickly, we realized that we needed to keep our focus on not the whole general smart building solution, but keeping the focus on the smart lock instead. And for us, it's always been important that we have been, the decision makers, and therefore we have always kept our focus on being a bootstrap business, especially compared to what you see here in the U.S. with a lot of venture capital funded businesses. So I think it might not have as much cash on your hand, but it gives you a quick time to react. Henning and I, we've had our desks next to each other for 10 years now. So when we wanted to make a decision, we just looked at each other and said, should we do it? Yes, no. I think that has given us definitely
You're like a little speedboat then. You can make those quick decisions.
Yeah, well, we would like to see ourselves as like that anyway, that's for sure. So, and I think that, that has given us great benefits throughout the history, yeah.
So tell you guys, where are you guys based right now?
In Denmark.
In Denmark, and you born and raised in Denmark then?
Born and raised in Denmark.
Love it?
Love it.
Love it.
Not this time of the year, right? We have like 5 hours of daylight, and then it's raining, windy, snowy, but yeah, it's great.
So tell us what made you then decide to do a smart key lock. I mean, if any of the products you could have come up with, why that one?
Basically, I think it was because at that time, we saw that there was a real potential, in the door lock, or basically not in the door lock, but in the door itself, because it's like, for us, what we see when everybody was talking at early stage smart home and like stuff like that, we said, okay, it's great with lighting, it's great with the heat monitoring and stuff like that, but when it all comes down to it, we want to have something where we really can build a business case, right? And we had a really hard time looking at, okay, I can turn on and off the light remotely, etc. Well, it's great for some, but the mass, we want to have something that can really create some derived values from the product. And that was when we looked at the door lock and said, well, this might be it, because you'll be able to deliver a lot of services. Once you have, control is perhaps much to say, but once you have, somewhat access to the end user's front door, of course under given circumstances, but still you will have the possibility to deliver the services that will make you as an end user aware that this product is not just a smart whatever, it's actually something that brings me value. So that's hence the smart lock.
Well, explain the DanaPad. As this smart keypad, what do you see using this keypad unlike everything else? Now, we also know, I just saw, recently there's been some problems with giving keypad numbers out and using, the apps that we've seen out there. So talk to us about how this makes someone's lives easier. I would assume you're trying to say, you can give entry to people that you want and not want, and those kind of things. Talk us through that, because I imagine people are like, well, I don't want to give entry to anybody. I want it, and right now we always talk about bad actors. Everybody's going to hack that. Walk us through why you guys have something that's going to make someone else's life a little bit easier. I like the idea, so walk us through that.
Definitely. Well, of course, at the end of the day, right now, it also comes down to how does the market look like? today, right? And we have a lot of use cases where we cannot 100% rely on a smartphone. We're getting there, but right now we just have to keep focus on the world is bigger than what you and I can do with our hardware, right? So of course we have use cases like in-house deliveries, we have cleaning services, we have elder care, we have, you know, just like the 8-year-old kid coming home from school. I don't know how it is in the US, but in Denmark anyway, people come home like that, and they might not have the newest smartphone.
They get off their buses, right?
Exactly.
Come to the door, sure.
Exactly. So it was very much to accommodate that that segment as well. And then, of course, when we go into a much broader target group like hospitality as well, Airbnb, for instance, then we also need to keep in mind that people are coming from everywhere, all different layers of the community, right? So it's not everyone doesn't have a smartphone like an iPhone or the newest Samsung phone, etc. So really, right now we have to do these, let's say, those little tweaks that makes the world turn around the IoT business as well.
So are you basing it on a specific protocol to enable entry into this lock? How exactly does the lock actually work?
Yeah, actually, you know, both the Danalock and the DanaPad, as we tend to call it, right? They both work in different radio protocols. You know, the Danalock and the DanaPad both supports things like C-Wave, BLE, as we talked about, Zigbee as well, releasing the HomeKit version. And the DanaPad, that's also a standalone C-Wave and Zigbee keypad next to the BLE, which means that it will also accommodate, you know, the needs for, let's say, the security operators who wants a outside keypad, because it's IP protected, meaning that we can all of a sudden we can deliver a enabler, disabler for your alarm system sitting on the outside. So you don't have that hassle, you know, when coming in, turning your key, you have to go to the alarm panel within 30 seconds, blah, 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 which is very important, especially when we look towards Airbnb, you know. Then you don't have to tell that, okay, you have to, once you unlock the door with the smartphone, then you have to go to the alarm panel. Everything happens directly from that keypad. So
the idea would be, you know, we had a guest on yesterday, the idea would be you're trying to target, so if somebody were making a trip overseas, like we were saying, we made a trip to Paris last year, and we came in an odd hour and we had to wait till they opened it, and it was kind of a hassle instead of getting the keys. You're making a little bit more convenient to be able to get in for those types of people for an Airbnb. You know, you're using someone's, you know, apartment, whatever. It kind of gives that convenience of being able to get into that place that you're talking about.
Definitely, and it's also, you know, there's so many ways where you say, okay, it makes sense for us to have like an extra access provider, or what would we call it? Yeah.
When you're talking about the connected home today and where you want to see this ecosystem, where do you really see it? You see it that you're going after new builds, you're going after existing homes? How do you see this working?
I think for us, you know, you would say all of them, but that's perhaps a bit too much. So right now what we focus on is saying, okay, we have a lot of service providers in this business, and what I was trying to say earlier as well is that we don't want to focus on the product itself. We want to focus on the values that the products bring. And that's where we want, and where we see, by the way, the business going in general is that it's not, you know, that I have a smart lock and I tell you, okay, this is smart lock, you can lock and unlock your house with that. It's more the general purpose of the products that's interesting for the end user anyway.
What's been the greatest challenge in creating a keypad or a key lock system like this? Is it getting people to want to embrace it? Are you finding that people say, I really am looking for something? What have people said about this so far?
Well, the one of the big challenges was in the beginning exactly what you're saying. Okay, why do I need a smart lock? And that's where we say, okay, big industrial players right now are making this actually visible for the end users. Now, why do they need it? In the general development of this, of course, it's the hardware. You know, hardware is it's to everyone who's trying to do it, don't do it. It's no,
they don't want you to do it. Yeah,
it's crazy. So, you know, software, I wouldn't say everyone can do it, but it's easy fixable. But once you put a product out there and it's on someone's door, then you have to go there and change it if it doesn't work mechanically. So, yeah.
So have you had to find partners to work with and make this happen? And how have you been able to bring this to market right now?
Yeah, right now, we have two different roads we're heading, right? Of course, we have our bread and butter business by selling to for instance, DIY in Europe, Japan, also Brazil. Actually, we're coming to the US, but US is pretty crowded right now, so we tend to focus on where we're good and where our, let's say, domestic markets. And then again, of course, it's a real focus we're keeping right now is the service providers, because they can bring that extra value add we were talking about. Now, all of a sudden, for the end users, it's not the smart lock; it's actually the service you're getting they want to have.
Hans, what are we talking about in price for something like this?
Yeah, basically for us, MSRP is $179.
And we're right now. Is it available right now?
Yeah, it is on Amazon.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, Hans, tell us your URL so our listeners can learn more about you guys.
Yeah, sure. Just visit us at danalock.com. That will give you much more info, and hopefully you'll get what you need, or give us a shout.
Hans, I want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Well, that's Hans Overgaard. He's with Danalock. Hope you check him out. So we appreciate you joining us today. All right, listeners, we're out of time for this segment, but stick around. We've got more to come. And if you've got any questions, you could certainly tweet at us at ConnectedWMag. And remember, this is the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and relevant technology. And remember, with great technology comes great responsibility. We'll be right back right after this quick break.